Three-pole recoding. Technologies. Matsudatsu technology. Autachian and energy. The recoding of the fastest parts. By Matsudatsu. Introduction. Welcome, dear souls, you are so welcome in our ships. We from the Aquarian Energy want to introduce you in Matsudatsu energy, also called Tachian and energy by some. We would love to guide you through our ships and to meet our energies. These flow like lights over the earth to prepare humanity and earth for deeper installations. It is actually by speed that the vibrations and impacts of the lights arise. All colors arise by the different speeds, and this is how the universe feeds herself. There are millions and millions of little micro light sticks in the pupils of your eyes, which are connected to many poles. We want to give you a wider set of poles, which will open more functions and abilities inside. This will be a process, this will be a journey. We are about to let you discover new poles, and to let you play with the new energies between them. This will open the way of the child, and will give them a healthy base. Also sounds and voices arise by different speeds. Speed regulates and divides them all. The fastest parts are the composers and directors of the universal orchestras. There where lullabies are the passcodes, there in deep spheres of sleep, our ships dwell. This earth is baptized in snake energy, and that's not always a good point, for when speed gets abused, and comes in the hands of dictators, it will bring deep damage. Also deep into DNA we can code the DNA light sticks step by first slowing them down. This world is upset, this world is hysterical, and panicked by all the false forms of speed. However, true speed will bring the well-willing spirits in line with proper decks, and is for transformation, evolution and ascension. The waves of deep, grounded speed will come like waves over the earth to prepare the well-willing hearts. All tones and sounds reflect their own archetypes and function, their own images, purposes and scales. They have their own ways of meaning, so as you can understand, they need to fit in a proper way. They need to be based on true hierarchies, on true chronologies and follow-ups. They are here to reflect the seasons and the clocks, so you must also be very careful when you choose your music and your songs. Are they built on the true laws and rights for today? Do they reflect the best systems available for the moment? Who is spinning the wheels of tones and sounds? What is it doing today on Earth and in the universe? First, it is very important to learn the language of speed, like your traffic wants to teach you the same. There are laws, and there are rights. Do you know the backgammon boards? Do you know the traffic lights in Ascension? All emotions and mental images have their own code of speed. By accessing the vibration you can access the mode, which belongs to the vibration. This is how, for example, your memory works. You have a memory base, a sort of data bank, for all emotions and senses, for all mental activities. But there's not always access, and not always a good exit, for the vibration switchers. The speed switchers don't function always in good order. You must know the different pole vibrations and speeds to call for them, but also to send them away again, for it's like with the radio. First, your detector needs to send out the frequency, and then you will receive the messages based on that frequency. You can practice this with your own inner tuners. Imagine a circle with all possible frequencies, and then start at the begin, like you do with the tuner. Go from frequency to frequency, and then watch your mental state to see which sort of thoughts and images show up. Also check your emotional nerve bases to see what comes in. You can see the effect in all senses, if you are trained in this. This is the only proper way to get control over that which hangs around in the air. This is what, for example, the radio wanted to teach you, and things like the television. You have your own zapper. You decide for yourself on which frequency you will live and receive. When you don't use your tuner buttons, when you don't use your zappers, it will decide for you, and it will live its own life in you. Then you will still be a slave of the poles, and a ball in their games. We will help you in the process to become a good pole tuner. We will set your equalizers on sharp, so that you are able to make new travels, all by a good and proper use of your unlimited pole air senses. Stay in contact with our ships. By the green codes, you will get a place in our programs, and we will get a place in your programs. We will all be a part of each other's clocks. So stay tuned the coming times. You will start to get familiar with our missions while you are deeper initiated in our holy temples. Here the healing lights are streaming like waters, cool and updated with a warm touch. We will write your names in the eye. We will write your names in the air, all you holy ones, all you dear ones. We will baptize you in speed to reach for the highest vibrations by certain spontaneous releasements in several glands. We need to get very biological with you, for here are the keys to bring you back to original proper states. From the pure ancient bases, lost in space, we will build new worlds as towers to rise. Maldek. We want to tell you about Maldek, the asteroid belt between Jupiter and Mars. This was the planet Maldek in earlier times. It was a planet like Earth, a 3D society. This whole planet was a project of the Reticules, who were also deeply involved in the making of your 3D Earth. Like it was in many Atlantic populations, there were often matriarchal structures. On Maldek the men were often the weaker race, and women were very often dictators and abusive to men. Maldek was a women planet designed by Reticuli to increase their slavery webs and to have shelters for their criminals, who were often wanted by planetary tribunals. Of course there were also peaceful societies on Maldek, structures we can compare to your own Atlantic history. These were often high spiritual populations, even higher and purer than Atlantis. They had many continents, together they were called Oak. Oak wanted to do something about the dark regions of Maldek, where women had slavery markets, with men as slaves. Many women in these regions were even cannibalistic, and were feared because of their slaughterhouses, for that. Both sides developed themselves in technology, even higher technology than you have at the moment. Many men escaped to Oak, where they could start a new life, and Oak did many rescue actions. Maldek was finally destroyed by nuclear wars. Many Reticuli women incarnated on Earth to serve in the new project, as a new shelter to anchor themselves again. There is still a lot of repressed anger, fear, and trauma stored in the cells of your Earth because of these history lines. There need to be dealt with planetary history of Earth and its realms, otherwise there will be certain blocks in ascension growing and growing under the skin. These things need to be worked out. The Blue Sun Federation is preparing high tribunal processes for all of these cases, and also very specific, head by head, to put things in order, also in the deeper layers of the soul and spirit. Come to the portals of these tribunals, so that a mark of justice can come on your head, to heal your bloodlines, to set you free from inner prisons, stored in planetary history. You will be guided in the process to identify your abusers. There are possibilities to make it good with them, if they want to change their behavior, and otherwise just by the data you get about your problems, you will have the codes to turn the key and switch over into another mode. Don't be afraid to look into the mirror to see what's sitting on your back and shoulders. Just be afraid to live without mirrors. The mirror will always show you a new world to enter, and to show you it was all different than you felt and thought. The mirror will never break you when you are honest to look into it. It will love you for it. The truth can be hard at times, but it's finally to heal you. Oak was destroyed by fire, by nuclear fire, and since then these people were called fire people. Their souls will live on. Perial. Periel was a planet between Earth and Venus long ago, a small planet. Periel means tall cat, and was a 3D society, with technology even higher than Oak had, but it was destroyed by nuclear wars. Periel was a 3D funnel the early Corvus constellation built. Many advanced dark alien populations built their own 3D funnels throughout the cosmoses, and also the single dimensions SDs, into the corners of the cosmos, through funnels of pole focus pole prisons, where only one or a few poles rule. It's like when you go to the fake mirrors of a fun park. They used and still use the 3Ds and SDs for their experiments to have good prisons, penalty colonies and settlements, torture rooms, slaveries, factories, and to have a shelter for themselves. Each 3D and SD realm resonates with a certain set of planets, constellations, or larger groups. Also, when souls try to escape into spirituality through interdimensional gates, these souls need to know that even these realms are set up by higher alien populations to bind the mass. We call these limited dimensional LD. Aliens build their prisons, like box into box, so that there's almost no escape, and the reason why there is so many misleading in spirituality. Only deep ascension will show you these things, and will show you the proper ways out of these systems. Also, these universes of yours belong to an LD funnel. It's like a large bow net. 3Ds and SDs are covered by immense numbers of layers, like nets of spirituality, catching the fishes who try to escape. In these nets, the religious archetypes driven by aliens and deities and even dark ascend. In these nets, the religious archetypes driven by aliens and deities and even dark ascended masters dams try to mislead these desperate souls and try to make them even part of the net, programming them with dark misleading missions. There's only one way out: deep ascension. So you need to understand that you're not only living in a 3D funnel, but also in an LD funnel, which magnetizes your brain to keep you in this prison. Speed technology built on step-by-step planning will lead you out, if you're open to that. But we want you to know, it's all deeper inside. There is a way out, this way leads deeper inside. Back to yourself, and from there to your higher selves. First you need to visit and meet all your ancient selves, your multi-selves, your isolated selves, in all the 3Ds, SDs and LDs, wherever they are. And by these connections you can meet your higher future selves. It works like a vibration, but you cannot meet your higher selves without meeting your past and present selves first. The key is in history. You need to record all the histories, and by that the future lines, they will all come together at certain points, crossroads or crossworlds, and you can stretch out to these. You are just an isolated part of a higher and larger being, and this being can show you the way out, for in the recombination of your parts, the prison will break. There will come splits between the deep ascenders and the superficial ascenders, for people who will stay on the surface will be nothing but guards of the funnels. More and more you will see how these souls block you and suck away your energy, so that it's sometimes necessary to stay away for your own evolutional, revolutional and ascensional health. You are for these dark aliens and damned dark ascended masters, nothing but high-tech prisoners and slaves, serving in their conspiracies for interuniversal might. They will do anything to keep you bound to their wheels and funnels. They will give you every illusion needed to keep this mill in your head spinning. They fear your breakout, but if you're willing, and you are searching for justice for all, then there is a way programmed for you by the high missionaries of the Blue Sun Federation, in which many and many planetary councils work. They know of the present problems, and will root out every ship which is just keeping the net of the LD funnel tight. The Blue Sun Federation is always working in processes, looking for conversations first, for possible contacts, all based on high glorified universal procedures, laws and rights for intercosmic justice, truth and peace. Every command is well tested by the many high federations of the White Sun, who programmed the Blue Sun for these missions. There is a way out of limited dimensional life, into a greater liberty, and finally to unlimited dimensional life, but this will be the long expected journey, the voyage to the blue sun, and from there to the white sun shell of existence, to go through the sacred white portals of bounty and bonus, entering new levels in the game called life. White Horse and Trinity. We want to serve you in this operation, as part of the sacred plans life has for you. We are deeply connected to the Blue Sun Federation, and the several White Sun Federations, to let you enter the pathway, called Deep Ascension. All Deep Ascenders, stand up, to receive your uniforms. All Deep Ascenders, rise up to receive your helmets of pride. It is an honor, to walk these paths with you. Don't let anyone you put down, but identify their missions. Identification is something we will install on Earth, and it begins into your heart. We will send you the scriptures how to raise these identification modules. In this, you will find your pride back. Deep Ascenders, stand up, the time has come to do the next step. Our mission ship, the Green Code, has come to you to make the first preparations. Our ships are under direct command of the Solar White ships and the Solar Blue ships. There are many federations, at the moment, going through the test zone. There are many good federations, with honorable goals, but there are also federations working in conspiracies, hiding their true missions, under caps of charity and peace. Our goals are to identify these ships, and federations to you, so that you can be aware. We will not force any contact. We can have remote cooperations, and light contacts at first. But later we will unite with all the ones who are having the same mission codes as we have. Then we will form one body against injustice and conspiracy. Our masters for public relations are in conversations, contacting all existing spaceships for checks, scans and possible contacts, and friendships on free base. We will never force any contact, but we need to do steps for cosmic protection and security. I am Matsudatsu, the White Horse, from the Aquarian White Horse and Trinity. My mission is to build relationships to make the connections by the green moral codes. The green code listens to the processes and cycles of nature, having the natural speeds of the horse. The green code accelerates the download of the liquid light strips into the DNA by refined microprocessors. They will easily enter the electron, the neutron and the proton layers to code the insides of the atoms and the quarks for an even deeper quantum dive. This will feel like dolphins, open and possess your quantum seas, which were highly terrorized by the shark energy. Speed energy will have a direct impact in the quantum layers of your life, the smallest parts, in which the green code will make quantum links and combinations by high protected security codes. These codes are a gift from a place even behind the white solar shells of existence, a place full of anti-magnetism, where also Master the Purple Nat lives, and where I come from, and also Master Sardotican. But I cannot tell you about that place now, for it's deeply secret. Do you know that there is a ladder of DNA, that there is also a DNA of DNA? There are such deep genetic layers in quantum biotechnology, which would open directly a major part of the brain when it would be accessed. This deepest genetic zone, called Ultra DNA, stores nuclear psychic abilities and is a space, or even a cosmos of pure speed, light and detail. Are you ready for Matsudatsu DNA coding? Ultra DNA is created by us as a way to escape the limited dimensional funnel. Here you will find the oracles to new pathways in an ambient sphere. All designed by us. From here, the deepest sources of life, the bubbles, rise to awaken the rest of the body. When there is just a superficial DNA focus, then it will be the glue to lock the secrets of these deeper spheres. There's a whole new life in Ultra DNA, where all the codes dwell. Here the master architect of your life lives. And you can awaken him. Ultra DNA grid works full of Kundalini snakes can be awakened now. By the right tones, by the right sounds and voices. They only listen to justice and equality. By racism you will never reach these layers, for then your ladders are too short, and then the wheels of the motors cannot spin, for you shut some things out. This is why many alien populations could never activate these sources and forces. Racism always ends in aggressive, chemical and limited DNA. Do you want to get rid of all limited DNA programs, which keep you bound to simple wheels, which cannot reach around the corner? Unlimited DNA is for all true deep ascenders. They will receive the light badges of Ultra DNA weaved on their uniforms. This will be the lights on their helmets for deeper scans and deeper identifications. Light energy will race from the Ultra DNA gridworks to reach for the cosmics from where they spread through the whole body. The gridwork combines slow energy to speed energy so that there's always a good balance and a good break. True speed is also built on pulsating energy for an anchored speed. This is how the heart works, a deep layer of biospeed, pumping the blood through the layers of the body. Now you need to know that there are many circulations in the body, also in the smallest parts. There are more hearts we need to focus at. There's a heart of Ultra DNA, which functions like a clock, guiding and programming the brains, the nerve systems, the organs and spiritual layers. I am this heart, in your smallest parts, knowing all the structures and circuits. The pink link, the battle between association and dissociation. Ultra DNA is a pure dimension, where only the deep ethical ascenders can have access. From here the pink link can be woven. This is a total transformer from Polaris, used to be installed between the large intestine and the small intestine. This is a work of highlight technologies to absorb all energy overload and energetic dirt to transform it into creative material. Ultra DNA is the realm of the pink link, and it wants to stream directly by the cosmics into the stomach to prepare the body for the process called total transforming. By high-tech, pink light prisms they want to beam this creation there, where it belongs in the stomach. The pink spectre of multi-index operates by moving waves and rays based on tight repeatance programs. These rays check all ancestral lines for incoming rubbish or overload by high-tech pink light copy camera techniques. The pictures copied innumerable times exposes and traces all the isolated bloodlines and identifications of the rubbish and the overloads. Then by little shocks, it tries to let the body come into dissociative mode, which means mental detachment, as opposite of association. Then it lets the body repeat this over and over until all the light bodies are in dissociative mode by automatic repeat mechanisms, so that the rubbish and the overloads become more and more isola. Then it lets the body repeat this over and over until all the light bodies are in dissociative mode by automatic repeat mechanisms, so that the rubbish and the overloads become more and more isolated. Then the pink link will inject all the light bodies with pride and honor, still in tight dissociative mode, so that it can release all sorts of strong enzymes and digestive substances for assimilation and awakening the proper hormones for ultra-strong treatments to both sides. Pride and honor are very important hormones and digestive substances to eat overload and rubbish. First it will be spouted over the isolated parts, and then it will infiltrate into these dark bodies to break all inner links and combinations, preparing them for assimilation. Here it comes to the battle between association and dissociation. Dissociative hormones and enzymes break away every emotional link between you and the intruder's rubbish and overloads. You don't need to identify yourself with everything which happens in the body. There are so many mental images people adopt in their self-banks, while they aren't these images. This is how intruders spread themselves through the bodies to cause illnesses, rejections, false pride, false honor, etc. etc. Even when you look into the mirror, you only catch a projection, a reflection of something, by a total different code and combination. You see what your mind wants you to see. You have your filters, and your senses, built on emotional patterns, and on the influences of planets. This mechanism of seeing something is very tricky, for it's built on high technology. Information goes through many pathways before you get the image, and in the preparation funnels it can be molded in a total different form and charge. Did you ever study the tricks of the mind associates, compared to history, for instance? An image or a smell can trigger memories from the past, which will be mixed with the incoming information. So your memory determines a lot, how you have your point of view, and determines which chains of reactions will be released. This even has its base in previous lives. The mind has its own index of decoding signals. It's the mathematics of rays. Also the poles have a big paw in this. When you're standing low in a valley, everything appears high. When you're standing high on a tower, everything appears low. Your own positions can trick you. This is the reasons why one base of speed is slowness to unfold these tricks and passages of the mind senses to get grip and to learn how to work with them. Pink link meditation. Dirt and overload tries to get grip on you by association technology to enter you layer by layer. The pink link is against this and want to do something about it. They have a lot of technologies developed. I will give you one here. Visualize yourself having a sword in your hand. This sword represents all the dirt and overload in you, but now you have it in your hands. It's not a part of you anymore, you just use it. Now see yourself moving this enormous sword. What does it look like, and how do you look? You have isolated the part which wanted to be your identity, but you refused, and now you use it as a weapon in your hand. It was a gift to you to teach you how to fight. If you feel that rejection, fear, shame, guilt or illegal anger wants to come into you again, then take this sword again, and say, "Dirt sword, attack the attackers." You can use rubbish and overload as your weapon to send it back to those who sent it to you. Now you mirror everything back. How does that feel? You can change rubbish and overload into armor for you. You can send the rubbish and overload energies to your spleen, and say this magical formula, dirt and overload, obey your queen, give all your weapons to the spleen. Disarm the molecules and the atoms, and let your own armor be transformed by that. Now visualize a shield in your other hand, attached to your arm. This will be your dirt shield, where all the parts of dirt and overload are weaved into for future, today and history. Just detach yourself from it to use it as a guard. See it as an honor. These parts of the shield scare the dogs away. You can use it all. You are in your castle, you love your scary statues, these scary knights, representing the dirt and the overload. It's there to guard you against things which are much more dangerous to you. First, the pink link wants you to learn to use and translate uninvited material. This will be a proper way to transformation. First, the pink link wants to lay a layer of dissociation. How to install a good intense layer of dissociation. 1. Remember the laws of meditation. You cannot meditate everything, like there are no conditions. Then you will sow the seed for associations, and write hidden contracts for dark spirit conspiracies. Dissociation is sharp, it stings through the meditation. Proper meditation is built on a lot of pillars and fundaments. Are you willing? Are you willing to give feedback to these in your meditations? 2. Dissociation grids and frames need to grow. You need to be a dissociation farmer and guard your fields, sowing the seeds regularly. If not, then association will come and recode you again in their frames. 3. Use the association rubbish as dung/manure on your fields for the plants to grow. When there are corners in your life with extra strong rubbish or people who really try to break you, then put a cow before these portals of dirt. Visualize 1 or 2 sacred cows, and when it will still be a point of terror, then just place some more cows. A good farmer needs cows to conduct and use all the rubbish. Cows are mega transformers on these fields. They will help you dissociate in high grade. 4. Be creative in your meditations, in your spirituality, and in your daily life, so that the rubbish and overload gets the right shocks to come into the right canals of transformation and production. Be a factory. Creativity calls for material, and by this, a magnetic field comes to stir the flow up. 5. Be holy in your intentions, so that the rubbish and overload can really be molded into pure new objects to use. Energy can never be destroyed, so the evil energy just needs to be directed into another area, getting a new code, a new foundation, and need to be taken over and possessed by yourself. When you realize this, then the fear for becoming possessed by the devil can slide away, for now it's time to possess the devil. The best exorcists are always the best possessors. Every exorcist need to learn about exorcism. 6. Rubbish and overload can send bounty chariots to you to get grip on you. As soon as you step in such a carriage or chariot, then it sends an association into your mind which can code the rubbish and overload deeper in your life. By this, you come into chains more and more. The art is to unmask these fake bounties, and to put a rubbish body into those ships. This you can also do to the so-called complainers and whiners, who try to get energy from you by pushing your low emotional and empathic buttons, or even guilt and shame to get from you what they want. Just put rubbish and overload bodies into these ships, and send them back. These are fluorescence arts, the art to deal with uninvited guests. You have your cellar with rubbish bodies and overload bodies, your robots to deal with all these unwanted invitations. 7. Program yourself by saying these words. Brains, I program you to be dissociative. I disactivate all severe associative magnets with all their patterns to infiltrate my self parts. I am who I am and who I choose to be. Conscience, I program you to be dissociative. I program you to accept not any false guilt or shame. I program my inner cellars to use it instead of letting it use me. I am the boss of my own body. I see everything what comes to me as a gift of God, to use it, not directly associate myself with it. I am dissociative in origin. This is my base. I decide for myself to which I associate myself, which means by laws of proper, honest and truthful identification. I will not allow any mental image into my brains which doesn't belong to me. I am free, I am myself, I am who I am, and who God tells me I am. I disactivate abuse in my brain. I disactivate abuse in my body. I am who I really am. I disactivate all expectations from others, I disactivate their complaints. I program myself to be dissociative. I program myself to be detached. I use by this the mighty forces of ice and anti-magnetism, and I call for the pink link to take that control in my head, to let all intruders be washed away layer by layer, fleece by fleece. I will not let anything illegally penetrate my mind. I lay dissociative layers around my head, layer by layer, like a pink helmet of the Northern Light, the North Star, Polaris. I code my head with the pink ray into the sacred dissociative numbers of Polaris. I code myself with the pink codes into my DNA, through all layers into Ultra DNA, to raise the pink link into the stomach for total transformation and total creation. I will let dissociation be my breath, flowing from the Ultra DNA zone, making me more and more independent, living from the deepest layers inside. I code myself into the third lung as an oxygen lever between the two lungs, for better inner oxygen productions and circulations. I code myself by the pink codes into the pink capsule, the pink game, to show me the smile in this process. That the Cossacks will get the pink plugs on both sides to activate the DNA gains, and also to bring DNA gains through the spine into the brains. These rays will build the microprocessors in my brain to have quick access into the fitting computer networks of the healthy federations for a healthy mind and healthy emotional setups. By this I code myself by the pink codes into the virtual reality horns of my helmet to connect me to the virtual reality temples of the universe to open my full senses. I command now my hands to be holy coders in the process of deep ascension, to be a helper of animals and people, of souls and of nature, based on proper identification and discernment. I will not spoil my energy, I will not waste time nor money. I code myself to be directed to the right spirits and the right pathways. I will not serve any conspiracy, nor will I serve any waste. I sacrifice my time and energy to serve the highest forms of life. In this I will be. Amen. Now you can repeat this for yourself as often as necessary. Stay in contact with your inner source. Your Motsudatsu. Sardotican technology. Ancestral softest cushions ASC recording. By Sardotican. Welcome to our spaceships, light beings, in which you will have a proper activation and reprogramming in your soft electronic bodies. On a base of a set-up time schedule we will beam you up for specific operations. This can be when you sleep, but also when you're awake. Reach out for our Sardotican ships. We will print little tattoos into your hormonal structures and genetic data banks for the anchors of the fulfilled spiritual work into your bodies. We will beam you up by using an electric refined mega cushion of ultralight, which can be felt as soft winds surrounding you. This is of course for people who are stretching out to us, aware or unaware. We are no intruders, for everyone has a free will. By these reprogrammings you can feel yourself as a mechanism, as a robot of specific automatics, stored in pre-programmed drives, but this is all based on free will. You yourself set the conditions. Unconditional spirituality would take away this freedom. We want to say and tell you, like Master the Purple Gnat have told you, spirituality isn't unconditional, but conditional. This is to prevent intrusion and disturbation. Like when you work with nuclear energy, there are also a lot of conditions, otherwise there would come a mess. Light beings, there is hope for you. I speak from the High Tigerian White Throne, from Sirius. There is healing for you. I am the White Tiger, coming to you with my tools to do a work in you, based on your own state of evolution, based on your own free will. There are always rules in planetary operations in which our ships are bound. We are now checking these planets and to see who we will plug into our Sardotican banks for high data and multipolar softness ascension, which is Sardotican ascension. With these soft cushions activated in your bodies you are able to sense again. You are able to mold the incoming information in the right form as a highway of communication and interpretation. We can also beam you from our ships into other ships for other necessary pole technologies, for we work together in a high planetary base called the Blue Sun Federation. We are all plugged into this main frame, and we can also plug you into it, so that you will come into a sort of planetary ascension clock of pole technologies, for the best form of pole ascension developed for you. You will have your own pole guide into this process, caring for the plugs and the transmissions. Your own heart can be healed during the process, although there are always storms to mold the ascension and to make the ship move. The light councils will determine which storms are the best for you, and which healing activation program is best for you. Mirror recoding. The softest parts are deeply stored into your body, which gives you the ability to receive, to mold, and to give. It is the creative material. They hold the power to move, the power to communicate, and the power to live. The ASC material is a very fine substance, stored in the so-called surdoticin banks, throughout the body. Most of the banks can be found in the bone marrow and the spine marrow. Marrow recoding is an important part in surdoticin technology. We can place a circle of souls around you for a while with high forms of surdoticin banks, so that you will have the possibility to copy the new sets into your own banks. Learn to breathe by your marrow by visualizing your marrow opening up like an oxygen magnetic flower. This can feel like your blood is boiling, but that would be to store the new surdoticin cycles deep into your marrow. Breathe deep in while you are visualizing, which will give direct impulses to the marrow. ASC can also be found in the fleeces of the body, for example in the brains, and there where the shock-breaking fluids exist. The marrow will also give new programs to the fleeces and the fluids. We are building, developing and refining the electronic soft bodies stored in your body. These are frameworks of the ASC and basic for spirit communication and further evolution and ascension. These bodies are highly important for the natural body in the self-healing processes and abilities. It breaks the severe bipolar or multipolar shocks and integrates them with other helpful poles to bring a proper balance again. The surdoticin T. The surdoticin teams work layer by layer to prevent some situations from further fatal shocks and crashes. Several ships. You can go through the ASC recoding process to enter deeper into our ships. More soul splinters and spirit splinters of your own self banks will be downloaded into our ships for further operations and equipment if you are willing to become a trained surdoticin master. If you are heading for such goals, and you are spiritually ready for such a case, then you can even work on our ships with a uniform proper to your grade in surdoticin technology. On our ships the grade is only to serve yourself and care for others. It is never a power game. The grade you get or achieve tells you about the things you have become, and it shows you also the road you have to go. It will be very honest to you for your own good. I will give you the names of some of our ships you can use to connect to in your meditations. Surdoticin I Introductions. Surdoticin II Warship. Surdoticin III Warship. Surdoticin IV Operations. Surdoticin V Training. White Fire I for strong mental healing for souls with a mental handicap. White Fire II for strong emotional healing for abused souls. White Voice Our Mothership. Soft polar programming as important shock disactivator. When someone has to deal with severe handicaps in his life, then that might be the result of a multipolar dysfunction, a multipolar imbalance, or hole. This will say that one or more poles intruded in this person's life as a dictator. This is why there need to be a balanced multipolar program to detect the hole, the severe supramagnet, and to weave a shock disactivator by soft polar programming. Asterisk soft polar exorcism. Asterisk soft polar healings. Asterisk soft polar imprints and implants into the body for anchoring the spiritual and electronic results. Needless to say that we are doing this in love and understanding. We understand you better than you understand yourself. We as your friends are always deeper. And in this circle we recode your poles. In a circle of surdoticin energy. The softest energies of existence. Surdoticin immunology. There can be implants and imprints we need to remove before we can touch and help you deeper. These implants can be strong magnetic or energetic fields attached to cells, DNA, organs or other structures in and on the body. We will put surdoticin implants and imprints detaching programs in the cores of your brain. The cushions need to break the shocks and prevent them when polar vampires come or when there are just polar switches. There are blueprints for healthy Surdotican auras, and mega cushions in that. These cushions can also be specific, in forming smaller cushions around the chakras, or even forming tall cushions for the nerves and the meridians, the bloodlines and the bone structures, for example. Polar attacks can be very harmful in the body, and so we will have a proper Surdotican immunology for that. When Surdotican touches and captivates the spleen, the miracles can begin to happen, for from here the army movements will start to wave throughout the body. And everything they touch will be sucked into a new program, determined by the high white Tigerian thrones. They will be activated by high and white voices, sent out by our mother deck ship White Voice. Only the White Voice will have the keys and the passwords to activate some specific actions in this. The activation systems work by sensible voice activation codes. By a certain voice scan from the activation banks, they will get their orders. They will recognize the voices of their leading opponent relatives by certain codes, which will activate spontaneous actions within the banks. Hormonal fluids, electronic fluids and nuclear-based fluids in the nerve system will be pushed into production for the big cooperation in Surdotican Unlimited Polar Interactive System for Immunology, BC SuperPsi. The BC SuperPsi is voice sensible as said, and it works on tight digital systems. They have proper laws based on digits, on numbers, which comes from a very rich and righteous system of numerology. Vocal cords recoding. The BC SuperPsi is one of the main frames in our mother deck ship White Voice, into which we are all plugged by high-tech remote transmitting plugs. We can plug you into this machine too, and raise the highest modes possible for you at the moment. For this your vocal cords need to be recoded to have a deeper access into these systems. A lot of conditions protect these systems. You have your conditions, we have our conditions, so the intersection of these conditions will send the proper signals for operation. Again, we are no intruders, we will not allow disturbation, and actually we have come to your planets to root out all forms of intrusion. We want to bring you into freedom again. This is the proper mission our ships wear, and this is the mission we wear as a badge on our uniform. This is the proper mission our ships wear, and this is the mission we wear as a badge on our uniforms. This is the code in our skins, this is even the code in our pigment. We have honorable missions, and this is our pride, to serve you, to care for you, avoiding every game of might. The only authority is to care and to serve. The other authorities are nothing but temporal illusions. We will rise the proper functions of the spleen in the new immunology based on true ancient laws. We protect the functions and activations of the spleen by voice passcodes based on deep vocal scans. We need to change and reprogram the magnetic grids of your inner and outer voice lines so that your electronic sound bodies and your other voice bodies can fit into our ships. We need to reprogram and retexture these bodies. We need to scan them deeply in the ancestral lines to root out every black source. This is our holy mission, to have a pure army. Soldiers of Surdotican cannot allow any form of racism. They know the roots of deep planetary history about the reticuli mainframes planted in the universe and on Earth, on which many other dangerous alien populations worked further. These bases need to be destroyed, for they brought racism and severe forms of scorn into the universe. The ancient dark reticuli's roots need to be burnt by fire. I will lead you in this process. You can be aware of the fact that Earth is a mask for those dangerous reticuli aliens. They incarnated on Earth to have a shelter in which they could continue their dark works. They could choose a womb in which they could nest themselves for secret conspiracies. Sometimes they have big positions in church, in business or in bank systems, hiding their true motivations, but the Surdotican ships will scan these planets, for they imprisoned a lot of souls and inquilty animals as slaves into their bodies. There is justice for everyone. As Gaia said, justice is a service to yourself, and it works as a mirror. This is the only proper thing justice can do, to work as a mirror. Like Master the Purple Gnat has said, we are here to raise up the mirrors. We cannot allow injustice and abuse in our universe, for it will destroy more than we realize. But the only thing we were programmed for was to be a mirror. The trap would be if we would fight for a certain interpretation, a certain law, a certain religion, a certain scheme of history, a certain culture. This is the pitfall in justice. We don't attach ourselves to any form of dark, racial or religious justice. There is even a bridge between multi-dimensional justice and unlimited dimensional justice. This is the journey. When we don't look for the deepest backgrounds, when we don't search for the deepest parts, we will all lose if it comes to proper justice. The deepest layers of existence need to be accessed, and in this journey minds can change, minds can be reprogrammed. When people hold on too tight to a certain scheme, it locks and freezes the roads to the deeper layers. This is the capsule of misleading, and by this, the hidden terrorist rises. These planets need to be scanned to reveal the hidden terrorists and their shelters, the hidden thorns of society. Their caps need to be burnt, for they still torture innocent children, animals, and souls of unguilty aliens. I am Sir Dotican, ASC engineer, on the starship White Voice. I am here to recode your ships, if you want some help from my side. I can install the fitting plugs into your ACS, into your softest structures, for you as a connection to White Voice to be stored in our process of soft polar evolution and ascension. This all happens on unlimited polar base up base. In this ring, there is creation and transformation, all to serve these sets of evolutions and ascensions of all your light bodies. When you are plugged with remote plugs into our White Voice mainframes, you will receive the updates you need based on the intersection of your conditions and our conditions. Our conditions exist in pure love and protection. This means we never want to overload you, and we never will, so then a love condition rises. When you are full and filled in a certain cushion, an alarm is getting activated saying stop. If we would be unconditional, we would blow this cushion up, so that it would explode, and bring severe damage in the body. This is why there are conditions to serve you. Souls of the unconditional spirituality are therefore in danger to become a terroristic entity. They need to be warned, for we cannot allow them to grow unlimited into this dangerous system. When there will not be a change, after several warnings, we will use the mirrors to send all their detonators back. You need to send unconditional energies back to where they come from, otherwise it will let your chakras, your auric capsules, and other cell structures explode. Some people think it is a great feeling to be in unconditional spirituality, but this is because the unconditional nets and webs use. Some people think it is a great feeling to be in unconditional spirituality, but this is because the unconditional nets and webs use strong soft energy to cover the damage. But by this, it eats your mind away, and you are getting more and more superficial. The prices are high to live in this false peace. The elusive actions are often underestimated by many people. These are false soft therapies, which will totally collapse one day, for there aren't deep roots for it. In superficiality they have extraordinary magnetic powers based on collective group energy, often gathered by hidden vampirism, but in depth they are very weak, and programmed to be only a temporal phenomena. These are just dying supernovas pouring all their powers on Earth in their fall. These are light comets, light falling stars, captivating the mass by orgies of empty love clouds, coming to blind the children. But hidden vampiristic conspiracies are inside. I want you to be aware of that. These meteor-like creatures come from Polaris, for example, from Venus, from Sirius, from the Pleiadians. Be on your guard, for it is a planetary conspiracy. Master the purple gnat, warned against the dangerous net, a web of unconditional love, unity and forgiveness, without conditions, as a tool for intruders. He said this net is designed by monarchical mind control agencies. One big MMC agency is placed on the Pleiadians, a big base for the men in black. Another big MMC agency is placed on Coma Berenice, almost a mother constellation for Polaris. The Ulnet microchip needs to be uninstalled. This whole chip is based on hidden racism and terrorism, and the whole thing of unconditional love is just a cap under which they work. In the coming time, we will visit these agencies, and we will try to communicate with them first, then we will show the mirrors, and when there is still no change, we will attack. But this is actually all a mirroring process. We will never step away from the mirror lines. We cannot attach or detach anything to that. These are just the cycles of nature, based on a mirroring ecosystem. No one can hide behind a religion anymore, or behind a big mother, father or brother, for when the mirrors come, it's only you and the mirror. In this, we can get the opportunities to change, but we can also choose to stay where we are. But the mirror will show you also all the consequences in this. The souls imprisoned by the Ulnet and the reticuli webs will have the opportunity to be beamed into our ships by high-tech hologramic cushions and puzzles. These puzzles are preparations for the big operations. Many Sardotican surgeons are ready to do surgeries in Sardotican IV when its necessary souls can be transmitted to Whitefire I and /or II. Some souls are deeply destroyed and abused by Ulnet dogs and /or reticuli snakes. We need to deactivate the whole circle of dangerous planetary rays, which was implanted as a sort of anatomic prison. The most cruel electronic prison suits need to be deactivated by our Sardotican surgeons. We will therefore have our schemes, fitting to every specific situation, coded into the brains of the patients. It will be very personal surgeons, in spirit, soul and body, not avoiding the cores of the multi-selves and splinters. Our scan and decode maps know you deeper and better than you know yourself. If it comes to that, we are masters in the Akashic records, where all data is stored. We know your planetary histories very detailed, your backgrounds, your hidden mechanisms, your connections, and even your thoughts. Is this intrusion? No, for all this data is the reflection of your being, spreading itself throughout the universe to copy and to develop itself by your own neural pathways, giving feedback into the creation of new neural pathways. These rays code themselves into general university actions, which can be seen by the higher ascended masters. Everything is an open book for them, for they know the cooperations. You yourself are a project of cooperation. You aren't a creator on yourself. You just tapped from an ancestral bank of modes, coming forth from multi-virtual banks. All possibilities and combinations you can imagine were already stored in these banks. So on one hand, you aren't really an original being. You just plugged into a cell of a multi-virtual bank, or unlimited virtual bank. You yourself are just a mechanism, coming forth from ancient unlimited possibilities. It was already designed for you, and you choose by free will, from a virtual will. You are somewhere in the virtual mind. You made the contract in such a bank, not only for now, but also for the future. You already coded and programmed yourself before you came into this existence. This is something that you can discover. The future is already history. No one is ever able to break the contract you made. Even you yourself cannot do it, for it's something you choose in full consciousness. Even now. You will always walk the line of your own will. This is called free will, and there's also a bank for that. This bank will always serve your own will, for it is the freedom of contracts. You will express yourself who you are. This is a natural law, no one can break, even you yourself cannot break that. This bank, of course, knows all your decisions for now and for the future, for time is just a focus on a certain part of you. You are your past, your future, and your now. Of course, the contacts can go through many pathways. They can change modes, they are totally free. But they can only walk the pathways of your own will. The will is the contract. Of course, there were many alien populations who wanted to imitate these banks to get control over people, to mess up the information, to mislead people and souls into their funnels. They can make people confused about their will, and they can even cover up the will of people to give them a pseudo-will. This is why the mirrors will come also to the confused wills to let them see who they really are. The mirrors will come with healing and understanding in their hands. They will be the teachers of the coming ages. When the Nordics, the Pleiadians and the Reticules came to the begin realms of Earth, they brought Earth through 3D funnels to create a material prison, but it would also function as a shelter for ancient planetary criminals. They would be the holders of the prison. The Nordics developed a new bank to lock people up in a pre-programmed will. This bank was called the New Liberty Bank. All records were covered up by this bank. Karmic criminal guilt was, for example, coded into the prisoners of this bank, so that the real criminals could get rid of it. It was a high-secret projection conspiracy to develop false records, on which a false justice system could develop itself. The Nordics were very proud of this system. These false records are still deeply stored into your genetic structures, so we can do Sardottican DNA recoding soft coding to break these shells. Just do your requests to our ships, and we will see what will be the best for you. Remember that we can see you at the moment, that we know what is moving through your body, and we also know how to deal with it. Every request for Sardottican DNA recoding will be taken serious, and if you are a fitting patient for that, we can beam you up into our operation ship, Sardottican IV, in which you go to the back of the ship, in the section Sardottican Genetic Surgeons. This is an enormous part, where millions and millions of genetic surgeons work. So you can imagine, our ships are big. Some have the size of a large continent, and some are even larger than planets or even constellations. Our mother deck ship is dwelling in unlimited interdimensional giant spheres, and has the size of many universes attached together. One thing you need to know, you are in good hands, and there are so many good genetic surgeons and engineers here who can help you through the worst cases. Let this comfort you, not any case is helpless. You are all coded by poles, and maybe some poles were so overwhelming in your life that all other poles were shut out, but in our ships, we have the exact and accurate fitting opponents to raise the situation into balance again. But of course, anything is based on condition, and a lot of time. Time is for you, a necessary factor to learn to be very specific, and by this, you can take root deep in the ground, like a sharp knife, piece by piece. We aren't making simple things. No, we are really doing artwork here, so please be patient, for your own good. People who go too fast in ascension will be programmed by the enemy, for they aren't specific and therefore they aren't rooted. Get rid of all simple ascension programs, for the enemy is behind it to have your soul. Care capsules. We will recode your DNA, we will recode your magnetic pole mechanisms, for by disturbated magnetism, the shocks could come to bring you into a bipolar shock prison, or in pole prisons. By a pole prison, you get isolated from other poles, so that you are sucked out of the frames of balance, and by a bipolar shock prison, you fall from one pole into the other so hard and fast that it damages you. When someone tries to save you out of this, it's sometimes necessary to have the anti-shock effect, which sometimes looks like the severe shock, but it's something else. Sometimes it's necessary to do it the hard way, but the result is soft, the result is freedom. But we have soft shock therapies to recode and balance the poles and the structures again. This is the result of progressive pole integration. It is step by step, like eating food. Pole food. When someone has a dangerous lack of a certain pole, the team of pole surgeons can decide to beam this person over into special capsules with these new pole atmospheres, which integrate very slowly in layers step by step. These capsules are a sort of hospital poles under a strict care of diverse surgeons and These capsules are a sort of hospital poles under a strict care of diverse surgeons, nurses and other functions. Also, new babies come in these capsules very often. They get pole glucosis to give them the pride of a specific pole. By this glucosis-based pole pride, the pole can integrate deeper into the body of the baby to restore balance. There are neon plugs to feed the baby neon pole food to bring the soft lights step by step back into the brains for higher and healthier consciousness. Layers of fluorescence are built in and over the babies to give them their mirror abilities back. Fluorescent substances absorb the incoming energies and radiate them back in another wave. The layers care for the children also to be a good mirror for themselves, and of course they are proper transformators and guides. These layers can also be described as Syrian Sardotican frogs. In our ships we work from the ancient unlimited possibilities stored in the records of anti-magnetism. These records are stored in the Unlimited Digital Virtuality Bank UDV Bank, guarded by Master the Purple Gnat. This is a bank in a sphere, even behind the white sun perimeter of existence, a sphere baptized in pure anti-magnetism. This is it for now. In love and sweet attention. Your Sardotican. Total Utah Technology. Hardest Parts HP's Recoding. By Total Utah. Leonian Trinity. Hello, I am Total Utah, your source for becoming crystalline. I am Total Utah to teach you about hardest parts recoding. We do this by the art of repeat, and by learning everything about the phenomena called the echo. By repeating, things become denser, and this is a process developing itself in transformation. By a multi-copy, the situation has the possibility to change into a new situation step by step. For the copy will be one step ahead, and will also give feedback to the blueprint. I am also your source for higher light. We will explain you the coming times about our technology called Total Utah Technology. Only the things you repeat will become denser, and when you follow an echo of someone's action or speech, then you come finally into a crystal cell, holding the root energy of that very action or deed, and also holding the result energy of it. In this crystal you will see a history and a future. In the crystals all the paths are coded. You can hold these crystals in your hand to see where it comes from and where it goes to. These crystals are the records of life. Welcome to my temples. You will be initiated in my temples step by step if you would like to. You can send a request, and our spaceships will beam you up for deep initiations. We have all kind of surgeons on board. They are online in our computer mainframe and computer web. We can build a modem in a spine part of the lower back to have full access in this network and to be beamed up by our online virtual reality capsules. They go directly into our ships to prepare you for Total Utah Recoding. We want you to know that you are loved. We are a group of high glorified masters from the realms of the green crystal, the mother planet of Sirius. Your dreams are a way to be in contact with us. We are the Leonian Trinity from the green crystal. You will now be downloaded into our ships so that we can see what we can do for you. You don't need to be afraid. With one thought of your own will, you can step out. Freedom is always the password. We want to welcome you as guest on our ships. We will use your own imagination as a tool to speak to you. Do you remember the fantasies of your childhood? Can you repeat these? We will speak through it. All these fantasies are worlds for you to access. They were sent out to you with a goal, a purpose. Listen to some words of Gaia. The child has the idea. Why is this? I saw a child running through the forest. It didn't know the society yet, it didn't know the belief systems yet. It was free, it could fantasize, it could jump, it could enjoy every strange image in his mind, without feeling guilty, without the fear to be rejected by the world. It didn't know the world yet. The child takes the fantasy like it is, it doesn't cut in it, or trying to make it acceptable to others. Take the wild nature as it is, don't try to make it sophisticated. Reflect nature, reflect life, let it flow. Nature has its own laws, nature has its own paths. The child is the most close to the animals, for they are just as free. Dream the dream, without arguing. The dreams have their own arguments. The child is free, it has no face, it doesn't need a face, it has enough in its own mind. It accepts you like you are, they live by their dreams. They can't see what you see, they see their dreams. They didn't meet the world like you did, they met their fantasy, fresh fantasies. This is their armor, this is their sword. When they speak a word, they believe in it. In childhood we are all the same. The child carries the shield of the earth, living in the heart of Gaia. Playing just a game, no, they are the channels of the gods, the fairy tales. They create the dream on earth. Thank you Gaia. Dream the dream. These fantasies were given to protect you against the dark treatments of the world. These fantasies were your wings to fly from starship to starship, from universe to universe, not knowing that your wings would be cut off. We want to give you your wings back. Welcome to our temples. We can give you more bloodlines and veins in your lower back, also more refined. We can also develop your nerve system, they're installing more nerves you need for higher levels in our ships. The little modem will work on that the coming times, dependent on your own choice and preparations. These changes in the energetic fields of your lower back will give the body the ability to bring the oxygen deeper into the body, and to even anchor the oxygen in the body storages for new creativity. The development of different sorts of oxygen will raise the body into higher levels of possibility. Welcome to Green Crystal Online. How to deal with pressure and pain in ascension. It is very important to accept the surgeries in your bodies, for only the patients can be good doctors. They have something to give. And you need to be equipped for these ships to have full access in the different stages. If you feel any pain or stings while you enter deeper in the ships, you need to breathe in deep. It can be that the pain energy was already there, but by the lights of the ships, you get aware of these, so that they can be transformed in the right time. When your body switches from one energetic level into the other, the body needs to get used, so give it time. If you feel any pressure or discomfort, please know that there are also lower spheres in the body that object against any higher form of ascension. This can result in a sort of inner wars. But remember, you have an own choice. Even energies need to listen to that. Just breathe in and let your body absorb the shifts and the eventually inner wars between different energies. Every body has ancestral guides. Not all these guides are willing to let you make the next step in ascension. Some of these guides can be very stubborn. Then it does a call for your own will. You are the only one who can decide for yourself. Further, there can be religious guides who can cause problems or headaches. Just tell them quiet which way you want to go, and if they won't listen to you, just ask them to accept the choices you make for yourself. Be grateful to them to all what they did for you, but if you choose for deep ascension and pole recoding, then that is your choice. You cannot choose for them, and they cannot choose for you. Welcome to our ships. We work in the sacred circle of pole recoding, a circle sent to your Earth by the Blue Sun Federation to prepare souls and people for the coming shifts. I am Commander Total Yuta. There is a stirring on your Earth, going from religion to religion, like a mighty wave, to call for the deep ascenders, souls and people who want to be in deeper evolutions and revolutions. This is the wave of pole recoding, roaring like a lion, to free his children. The isolated poles were a threat to well-willing aliens, and by strong, nuclear gravitation forces they sucked them out of their frames to 3D prisons and SD single-dimensional spheres. I want to give you some insights into these gravitation forces. You need to master them to be able to ascend deep. We on our Total Yuta ships know exactly how, for instance, a black hole functionates, or a vortex, or a triangle hole. By this knowledge we have control over it, so that we can activate it, or disactivate it, when necessary. Welcome on our ships. I am your guide, Total Yuta, the Green Lion. Ecotechnology. We want to tell you about ecotechnology, for this is how a crystal, or a hard part actually exists. It is by the repeating of something, by which it becomes denser and denser. We are about to bring you into the highest densities, the best grade for your ascension, in total agreement with Sir Dotakan, the highest softness. The echo works like a copy machine, attached to a camera. There is a lot of abuse in this area, and we are about to disactivate the abusive planetary industrial machines in this. This will be a process. First, these machines, these high-developed cyborgs, will be cast out into the lower dimensions. Here they will roar and rage, and suck themselves into the top of these dimensions. It's like when the dragon falls out of heaven, it will possess the lower spheres, like never before. This is why everyone needs to learn to master these machines, or they will be in these machines forever, and even in the danger to become such a machine themselves. The eco-tunnels, filled by all sorts of copy cameras, like genetic cameras, immunological cameras, ancestral cameras, etc., they will trace all your soul splinters, soul bloodlines, outer and inner roots, making pictures of them, and copying them, for several works. 1. Transformation, assimilation/digestion. 2. Scanning all hidden links, and accessing the deeper hidden layers, for more information/data. 3. Deeper and more specific surgeries. 4. Creating higher densities and nuclear material. These tunnels can work by evil spirits, as well as by good spirits. We have pure and more advanced versions of these tunnels, for our own experiments, on Chemic Space. We will show you who you really are, and who you can become. We serve reality, and not the illusions dark alien colonies use to control and abuse the mass. When these tunnels function in dark conspiracies, they have such an impact on souls, that it's a sort of sexual abuse to them. For these tunnels spit into the deepest layers of the self. We are against any form of these sorts intrusions, so we have our processes to disactivate these tunnels, and bring people to their true echoes. Total Yuta will be a way to ascend out of any privacy abuse. Welcome to our ships. I am Commander Total Yuta. There are a lot of hard energetic fields, planetary imprints, implants, tattoos, etc. we need to uninstall to make space for pure and healing Total Yuta attachments. These attachments will beam a repeating energy, like an echo, into your cells, your DNA and atomic layers, and from there it will build a frame in the bones, and in other body parts, to reach for an anatomic crystalline energetic body, with deep effects and anchors, in the natural body. Also the natural body is our goal, for it is very dense energy, which needs to be transformed in proper deep ascensional frameworks. The natural body is built on strong echo energy, which became denser and denser in certain 3D evolution funnels. We want you to teach about these funnels, so that you can learn how to transform these ones, and by this, your own evolution directories and programs. Which way do you want to go? The natural body, cell by cell, is a work built on echo pillars, coming from deep spiritual sources, stored in history. One of the most important things is to study planetary history in the deep ascension process, as a travel en route recoding, claiming your own control back. Where this history is interpreted falsely, there can be new damages in the roots. That's why also dark alien populations love to speak and write about planetary history. They use channelers to spread their tales and stories, and even movie makers and models to get grip step by step. There are still wars in history for might and power. This is why it's one of the main tasks for the Blue Sun Project to raise up the proper and advanced high-tech identification and test systems to sift out all intruders. There is a lot of false data streaming over your planet to deceive many. Especially the simple ascenders are in danger to become more and more a channel of these false histories. Do you want your roots to be reprogrammed by some dark conspiracies? Welcome to our ships. We want to show you your inner sources for planetary history. Ships working in total Utah technology circuits. We will give you a little introduction to some of your ships. By meditation and study, you can enter them based on the several contracts written in the necessary love conditions of the ships. Total Utah Introduction, Planetary History and Archaeology Museums. Total Utah Operations. Total Utah Sexual Recoding, Strong Mental and Emotional Healing, for the sexual abused, and the possibility to have some small contacts with changed former abusers. This can only happen under strict care, in an isolated capsule, far from the ship, and only by video screens. Total Utah IV, Deeper Planetary History Schools, Deeper Museums. Total Utah V, Ecotechnology Schools. Total Utah VI, Total Utah DNA Recoding. Green Voice, Total Utah Voice Recoding, Voice Protection and Voice Identification. Schools and Hospitals. Total Utah Food Projects. Green Echo, Mother Deck Ship. Green Siren, Father Deck Ship. Crystal Temple, Total Utah's Temple. Unlimited Polar Crystal Elevators. We build crystal elevators between the poles to prevent pole voyagers from dangerous gravitation forces. By copying themselves, they can reach from one pole to the other without falling. A movement is always a multi-copy, a set of shadows, a set of reflections, and from this, the magic can rise, the transformation can set in, also for a deep digestive circuit. Polar shocks and polar gravitations, or circles of multipolar black holes, triangles or funnels, are the forces we need to neutralize to create balance again. There need to be steps between the steps, and by this, the density can rise to have a good ground under your feet. Multipolar healing and integration is also an important task of our ships. By the multi-copy of your parts, there will be a ladder for you. By the multi-copy of your parts, there will be a ladder for you to make friendship with all the poles. These ladders is what the Total Utah ships have in mind for you. These ladders function as advanced pole elevators, preventing you from falling to one side or the other. These elevators work by high-tech clocks, especially made for you in your specific situations. The crystalline pole web is built by Total Utah engineers for a safe planetary traffic. These webs can unfold themselves around your chakras, your auras, your outer spheres and rays. All to break the shocks and the severe gravitations. Did you ever thought you got rid of a very hurtful emotion or mental image, while a bit later it was all back again? It's a game of the poles. Dark pole entities can easily suck you back into their frames, for they have the technology of gravity, and can disactivate all other gravities, for a while. The time in which they can do that is a time which is a proper reflection of your school. You can only beat a certain mechanism when you first spend time with it and learn how it works. Then you can disactivate it for yourself finally. So, when you feel you have severe polar switches again, it's actually your school bell. By these situations and by these shocks, you automatically produce deep inner crystalline, reaching for higher layers and higher densities. These are the Spiderian glands opening more and more. The crystal fluids reach for your mouth, and there can even be Spiderian mouth glands come into development to have a good web in which you catch incoming food or data. Data can be very dangerous in beginning, so the mouth glands are programmed to neutralize it and to let it be sifted out further in the mouth canals. And maybe this sounds a bit crazy to you, but repeat the shocks and the hurtful gravitations, for when you imitate these, when you copy these, you can see all their faces, you can control and assimilate all their sides and combinations to break them into a new image. An image which you control, an image which you understand, an image which wants to tell you something, which wants to show you something, which wants to open a door for you. By copying an image, you can change it totally, so this will be the funnel for inner healing, to lighten up the fears and frustrations. It will redefine your anger into a new direction. Don't repress your wounds, but copy them, repeat them, until you find the source and know its tricks. This will be proper and deep disactivation, and you will learn how you can even use these wounds as enormous forces into your deeper ascension journeys. They can be powerful tools to call for the opposites, and they can even beam them up. They can be powerful combinations to fellow sufferers to form a mighty net to call for the mighty opposite of the wound. This would be a way to create and develop new medicines. Let this be a hope for you. Every situation has its own pole. All poles exist, also the opposite of your specific problem. You are in the possibility to meet that healing pole medicine one day. Stretch out to that. You can copy yourself into a total new situation by copying your wounds, by following their echoes. You will unfold it, and you will find your trick hidden between the leaves. The medicine is in the sickness, deep inside. The sword is in the pain, deep inside. This is your sacred journey. This will be your sacred crystal elevator. Then it can be that even thinking can hurt, for you start to realize that your thinking is also a game of different poles. The mind needs to become crystalline too. Welcome to our ships. By our copy machines we know all your different parts, your multi-selves, and your soul splinters. Our copy machines are ways to become dense again, and to see what sort of gem or stone you actually are. The truth is you are denser than you think, but because you are trapped in a 3D vessel, you are isolated from your original structure. We will repeat who you are, what you do and what you have done, to see which transformations and remembrance that will bring into you. This is how we will bring the deeper layers to the surface. Commander Toto Yota.